Iraq's dwindling Christian community in mourning after the deadliest attack against the country's Christians since 2003. So is the attack a fresh round of violence against this community? And is the aim of this kind of attack to force Christians out of Iraq? This is Inside Story. Welcome to the program. I'm Dareen Abu Ghayda. 58 people killed in a church siege in Iraq. An al-Qaeda-linked group called the Islamic State of Iraq claims responsibility for attacking the Catholic Church in Baghdad on Sunday. Situated close to the Green Zone, the gunmen held more than 100 people hostage for hours before security forces stormed the church. The kidnappers were demanding the release of al-Qaeda prisoners from Iraqi and Egyptian jails. They also threatened the Coptic Church of Egypt for allegedly detaining female Muslims against their will. The attack is being described as the bloodiest against Iraq's dwindling Christian community since the 2003 US-led invasion. Joining us to discuss this are guests in Erbil, Aziz Emmanuel Zadari. He's a member of the Chaldean Syriac Assyrian Council. That's an NGO seeking to enhance the rights of Christians in Iraq. In London, we have Iraq affairs analyst Abdul-Mun'im al-Mullah, and in Washington, D.C., David Gartenstein-Ross. He's the director of the Center for the Study of Terrorist Radicalization at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Gentlemen, welcome all to the program. Thank you very much for your time on Inside Story. Abdul-Mun'im al-Mullah, let me begin with you and discuss the actual mechanics of this attack. Now, the assailants first battled security at the Stock Exchange building. Then it's reported the men fled to the nearby church where they took those people hostage. So what do you make of this? Was the target the Stock Exchange, or was it the church to avenge for those al-Qaeda members held in prisons in Iraq that we were talking about in the introduction?
Yes, hi. Well, to be honest with you, if anything, this operation will demonstrate the lack of professionalism of and the training of the Iraqi security forces. Also, that it will further demonstrate that the lack of the ability of this Iraqi government to handle such situations. For me, I can look at the attack as it is. Came from a common murders, common criminals. They were trying to attack the Iraqi exchange center, or one of the Iraqi business center next to the Salvation Church, and then they scaled on the wall of the church, and they start to shoot the civilians there. For me, I think it is whoever the group behind this attack, either Qaeda or any other groups, it is a terrorist act, and the only destination that we can blame is the Iraqi government and the Iraqi security forces.
Aziz Emmanuel Zadari, let me just bring you in right now. How should we read this attack in your opinion? What significance is it that a church was attacked?
First of all, I should like to express my condolences for the victims of the last terrorist attack on the Christian community in the church in Baghdad. Well, the recent attack is the last in a series of regular and well-organized attacks on the Christian community in Iraq, with an aim to drive the Christian community from Iraq.
David Gartenstein-Ross in Washington, al-Qaeda is claiming responsibility for this attack. So does the operation carry the hallmarks of al-Qaeda in your opinion?
It's difficult to say in this case. I mean, there's certain al-Qaeda hallmarks that you can attach to well-coordinated terrorist attacks. For example, bombings that are near simultaneous in multiple parts of a city. That has the hallmark of al-Qaeda. In this case, storming a church, tactically, strategically, it's something that al-Qaeda certainly has done. It's something that they're capable of. But one can't tell just by the signature of this particular attack, at least not without getting much deeper into tactics, techniques, and procedures than has been reported publicly. But assuming that the claim of authenticity from the Islamic State of Iraq is indeed a correct claim, assuming that it's an authentic claim, then there's no reason to believe that people affiliated with the group did not carry it out. Because particularly for a group like ISI, which as the U.S. draws down, is trying to show its capabilities, its ability to challenge the state, if it ends up doing so in a false attack, an attack that actually isn't connected to it, then it's going to lose a great deal of credibility. So if it is an authentic claim, then I am inclined to believe it.
Abdulmunam, in London, how did the attackers penetrate the area? The church was next to the green zone, which is heavily protected. So how were they able to even get in there?
Well, this is the question that's really circling in every person's mind. If we know that this church, that as you stated, it's located at the fortified security zone, and it's not far from the green zone, the core of the green zone of the Iraqi government. This is the first thing. How could al-Qaeda have the ability to ride in a daylight under the observation of the Iraqi securities to ride Baghdad streets at that date? This is the first thing. The other thing is, if we go to the conclusion that the conclusion behind this attack is reigniting the sectarian violence and to kick the Christian Iraqi people out of Iraq. So what is the responsibilities of the Iraqi government and the American forces? Who is responsible of protecting the Iraqi civilians? Is it the Iraqi government who is responsible of protecting the Iraqi people? I believe that the Iraqi security forces are not have dealt with the situation in any professionalism way, and that back to the corruption in the Iraqi government, back to the lack of training in the Iraqi forces, and the American forces. I can't understand how could they manage to filming the attack of the militants whom they get inside the church, and they took the hostages, the 50 hostages, one by one from room to another. I think this attack has been planned and designed very well. It's been cooked very well by one of the powers playing on the ground of the Iraqi political arena. I think the Iraqi government knows what sort of identity those criminals have. Whom they help this attack.
Aziz Emmanuel Zardari in Erbil. Let me bring in Aziz, because Aziz, I see you there nodding your head. Do you agree with what he's saying? Could this have been an inside job?
I believe that whoever the perpetrators are, what's happening on the ground is the forced displacement and terrorist attacks on the Christian community in Iraq, and this has stricken them with terror, and they're very afraid. And the only thing that they think of is to leave the country, and unless something is done on the ground, this inexorable immigration will have a very everlasting effect on the demographic existence of the Christian community in Iraq. And of course, it is the Iraqi government who should be held accountable for these atrocious attacks on the Christian community. And well, I believe that they can't station a policeman in the front of, at the door of every Christian family in Iraq. So myself as a member of the council, I believe that the only solution and the only viable solution to help the Christian community in Iraq survive and stay in their ancestral land is to grant them a constitutional, autonomous area where they can live peacefully with the rest of the components of the Iraqi community to take part and contribute into the reconstruction of a new, democratic, united and federal Iraq.
David, both Abdulmunam in London and Aziz from Erbil blaming the Iraqi government, saying that they have to be held accountable. But What role does do the American forces have to play in this whole operation that went through? Actually, the U.S. military publicly praising this rescue attempt, even though more than half of the people were killed and wounded.
And also, the U.S. military has acknowledged that it played what it describes as an advisory role in the rescue attempt. Now, one of the things that any rescue attempt comes down to is what was the intention of the perpetrators, what was the intention of the people holding hostages. In some cases, a high death casualty is a sign of a terribly botched attempt. An example of that would be, for example, the theater, the Moscow theater or the Beslan school hostage rescue attempts that Russia tried to carry out, in both of which a lot of people died due to the efforts of the security forces. In this case, it's difficult for me to say without having much more information on the operation itself as to whether it's worthy of praise or whether that praise is entirely premature and wrong-headed. One thing I want to get back to, though, is the inside job element that both of the other guests brought up. One thing that happened today, one development as of today, is that the district police commander that was responsible for security is being held for questioning. Now, whether he's being questioned for just failing to do his job or whether he's being questioned because he was actually aiding in the attack hasn't yet been disclosed, nor has his name been disclosed. But that's a significant development. And in the past, when you've had al-Qaeda execute high-level attacks, a lot of times they've been able to do so with the help of an insider or two, as have other militant groups, not just al-Qaeda, within the country. But for example, if you look at Abdul Sattar Abu Risha, the father of the awakening movement in Anbar, when he was killed, one of the means of assassinating him was actually paying off someone who was close to the situation, someone who should have been responsible for security, actually a member of the security detail who was in a great deal of debt. So that's something that really does need to be looked into. Now, whether it's a conspiracy that goes beyond that, I certainly can't say. But the presence of insiders is something that's been present in past attacks and may well be part of the equation in this most recent heinous atrocity.
Well, talk to us about how strong the Islamic State of Iraq is. That's the group that did claim responsibility for this attack.
Clearly not as strong as it was if you look back 3 or 4 years, back to 2006, 2007, when it was able to control territory, when it was able to even implement a governing structure and implement very stringent rules in areas that it controlled. But as the U.S. draws down, that presents an opportunity for insurgent groups, and in particular for al-Qaeda groups in Iraq, to try to reestablish themselves. Anytime there's a transfer in responsibility for security, there's, in my view, going to naturally be some sort of uptick in violence. That was something that I expected during this transitional phase. What ISI wants to show is that there's still a potent force capable of carrying out attacks anywhere in the country, even in heavily fortified areas, such as what this area was. They want to be able to show that they can fundamentally challenge the state. Now, whether that's the case, we don't know. It's not an organization that has a great deal of transparency. That's going to something that we're going to have to see over time when we look at whether this is part of a trend toward increasing violence or this is just a one-off thing and we don't see a repetition of it. But certainly it's something that both the U.S. and Iraq are going to be looking for.
Abdelmonem in London, do you agree with what David has just been saying?
Well, a part of what he's saying, yes, I do agree with him. But the other part, no, I don't. I disagree with him. And the reason why that I disagree with him, which is blaming inside people from. I mean, the inside. There's insiders whom they help those militant to hold this attack. We all know that al-Qaeda it is a fragmented network, and sometimes they carry out their missions individually. By sizing al-Qaeda ability by the U.S. Or the occupation forces in Iraq since 2005, and conforming the awakening councils led by Abdul Sattar Abu Risha. Al-Qaeda was sized, and there was no more. They weren't that effective as they were before 2005. So if we now go with the statement that David stated, so we need here to set a definition for al-Qaeda. Who is al-Qaeda? The US Army and the Iraqi government always blaming al-Qaeda and the Ba'athis and the Takfiris, and now they blamed al-Qaeda, and we are talking about this incident that we had yesterday in Baghdad. So if they blamed al-Qaeda, they need to set up a definition for al-Qaeda and to clarify what is who is al-Qaeda. Are al-Qaeda those of people whom they were ruling in the Iraqi Islamic State, or the people whom they come across the borders of Iraq? Who are they? This is the first thing. The other thing is, if they are quite sure that al-Qaeda behind this attack, why they didn't took the arrangement to prevent this incident? With all the highly equipped weapons and intelligence, I think the excuse of blaming al-Qaeda, it is an insulting not only for the Iraqi people, it is an insulting for the international community intelligence. I mean, it is really something we cannot go anymore with it. If we are going to blame al-Qaeda in every single attack that the Iraqi people face in Baghdad or in any other Iraqi city, then what is the role that, as you questioned, David, what is the role of the American forces and the Iraqi forces, and what the hell are they doing there in Iraq? We need to understand who is going to provide the security.
David, you can respond to that. You can respond to that briefly.
Yeah. In this case, it's not the U.S. saying that al-Qaeda carried it out. It's an al-Qaeda insurgent entity, the Islamic State of Iraq, that's claiming responsibility. ISI is an insurgent governing council that was set up by al-Qaeda in Iraq in order to try to provide it a more broad base of support. If the ISI is claiming responsibility, that isn't the United States saying al-Qaeda carried it out. Rather, it's an al-Qaeda-linked group claiming responsibility directly.
Well, David, sorry, Doreen.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, David, we all know that so many times that the Iraqi government and the American forces has announced of ending up the story of al-Qaeda and their leaders, starting from al-Zarqawi, passing through al-Muhajir, ending up by Abu Hamza al-Masri. I can't remember specifically his name. So for how long the Iraqi people will keep hearing this excuse? I mean, it is really something unbelievable.
This is not an excuse that's being made. It's a group that's claiming responsibility. Look, we have a responsibility. Everyone involved in this has a responsibility to understand who's responsible for this attack. And I agree with you that if it's not al-Qaeda, then people need to know this. But I haven't seen a single United States statement blaming al-Qaeda. There's been a claim of responsibility by an al-Qaeda-linked group. But as of this point in time, there's still investigation going into who is responsible. Look, this is a tragedy. This is a terrible, heinous terrorist attack.
It is indeed, gentlemen. I'm just going to have to jump in here. I'll just have to jump in here quickly. Just remind our viewers give our viewers some statistics on Iraq's Christian community, and it's in fact one of the world's oldest. And according to a 2009 UN report, the Iraqi census of 1987 showed 1.4 million Iraqi Christians. By the time of the US-led invasion in 2003, there were an estimated million. That in 2008, that number fell to around 700,000, and today it's believed to have dwindled to 600,000 or less. Let me bring in Aziz Emmanuel Zidari with us from Erbil. Aziz, my question to you is this incident representative of underlying tensions between Iraqi Muslims and Christians at all?
Well, basically, I mean, the Christian community is a peaceful community. We don't have any militia. We are not causing any problems to the internal security of Iraq. So I think we have nothing to do with the ongoing conflict, whether political or whatever else.
Well, what are the ramifications? What are the ramifications of this attack on the Iraqi Christian community?
Well, I mean, as you can see, whenever there is an attack, scores of families will decide to leave the country, and they will create an inexorable immigration from the country. And on the other hand, it is very sad to say that whenever there are such tragic incidents and terrorist attacks on the Christian community in Iraq, we hear from the international media that this European country or that European country is opening the door to grant refugee status to the Christian community.
So how significant, which brings me to my next question, how significant is this exodus of Iraqi Christians from their country?
Well, I mean, if it goes on like that, I mean, in the foreseeable future, perhaps we will find no Christians in Iraq unless there is a viable solution to their plight in their homeland.
Abdelmunam al-Mullah, let me bring you in here and ask you about Iraqi security forces. This must be a real test for Iraqi security forces, this latest incident.
Well, it is. It is. But before that, let me tell you something about the Christians and Muslims in Iraq. We all know that for centuries, the Christian people in Iraq, the Iraqi Christian people, they were living in a very peaceful environment, and they were the most helpful to build the Iraq state for the last few decades. And nevertheless, there is a huge history. I mean, you can back it up to the civilization of Ashurbanipal. I mean, the Christian in Iraq, they had the ultimate influence on the Iraqi heritage, and their thumbs was clearly shown in every single corner of the Iraqi buildings and communities. Back to the Iraqi security forces, I think it was purely. I think this. I mean, I'm talking now location-wise. It was purely showed that this operation was done to claim or record a victory for the Iraqi security forces, which unfortunately turned into the cost of 58 of the Iraqi civilians' life and over than 78 injured. Location-wise, let us not go far with the memory of the Iraqi violence. In 2009, there was al-Zawiya bank robberies, and it's not very far from the Salvation Church. So, and if we know that the Karrada, the Salvation Church, it's located in the middle between inside Karrada and outside Karrada.
All right.
Karrada, it is a district in Baghdad.
Yes.
So if we take this location into consideration and analyze the powers whom they are ruling in that area, from the right side is the Iraqi Supreme Islamic Party, led by Ammar al-Hakim, which they responsible for the security of
unfortunately, Abdelmunam al-Mullah, we're running out of time here, but I'd just like to get the final thoughts from David over in Washington. David, just briefly, religion is being used here, but are there underlying issues to this incident? Is this perhaps a diversion from main political issues that are actually going on in Iraq? And just briefly, if you don't mind, your final thoughts.
To me, it's part and parcel of the violence which your guest in Erbil has so articulately spoken of, which has beset the Christian community in Iraq. This is a serious issue. The numbers demonstrate how that's a dwindling community, and I'm very concerned that we're seeing a genocide of Iraqi Christians as we sit here and watch. All
right. Many thanks to all of my guests. Unfortunately, we've run out of time here, but Aziz Emmanuel Zidari, Abdelmunam al-Mullah, and David Gartenstein-Ross, all of you, thank you so much for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. And of course, to our viewers, we welcome your comments and your suggestions. Email us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. Bye for now.